Do we need to come up to the mic, or?
Yeah, you need to, yeah.
Okay.
Hello.
So, are you going to start by introducing yourself?
Sure.
Oh, okay.
Good morning, everyone. It's really nice to be at Six Nations Polytechnic again. I'm going to do something that's just very new and fresh for me, so bear with me. I am officially a Mohawk language learner. So in my 71st year, this is a goal I've been trying to work on. Gayadonis Niyangyets, Ellie Joseph Niyangyets, Kanyakahaga, Nimogoenjodo, Anuwala, Dewagi Delonto. What I did say was my traditional name, first of all, which it means she makes corn husk dolls. So that was given to me as a small child at the midwinter ceremony when I was too small to remember. I might have been maybe 1 or 2 years old. And my given name is Ellie Joseph. I'm a resident of the Six Nations of the Grand River Territory, have been all my life. I also said that I'm Mohawk and I am of the Turtle Clan. I'm one of the co-founders of Two Row One the Grand, and very proud to be here today to share some things that we're doing, and very proud of where this project has come. So I will turn it over to my paddle brother, Jay.
Thank you, paddle sister. I'm Jay Bailey, and I was born near the headwaters of the Grand River, and spent much time most of my life was spent away, but 9 years in Kitchener-Waterloo, close to the river, but didn't really engage with it. It was after returning to Ontario from 14 years in Manitoba, I realized I needed that connection. I had worked with Indigenous people out in Manitoba, and I needed connection with the rivers, the lakes, and Indigenous people. I really missed that connection, especially the sense of humor. And so I answered the call to help clean up vessels for the spring at the Agaway Canoe Club on Six Nations, and that's where I met my paddle sister, and she invited me to take part in the 2013 Two Row Wampum Renewal Campaign paddle down the Hudson River from Albany to Manhattan. And that 2-week trip made a huge difference to a lot of people. And 4 of us from Southern Ontario said, we need to bring those teachings and that experience to communities along the Grand River because we need that kind of connection. And there's been such a disconnect in those communities. And so it took us 3 years to scout the river, to figure out logistics, to get advice on how to do this sort of thing. And Ellie and I scouted the whole river together, figured out where camping spots would be with the help of Garth Patra from Grand River Rafting. And in 2016, we were able to do it. We thought we were doing it once, but we had a sharing circle at the end. And when people told us what an impact it had on them, both Indigenous and non-Indigenous paddlers, we said, how can we not do this again? And so this will be our 10th annual this year.
So I'd like to give a little bit of a background on the Two Row Wampum. I'm learning about this all the time, and every time I hear scholars, academics, historians talk about the Two Row Wampum, I'm always learning something new. When we did the Two Row Renewal Campaign on the Hudson River, that really spoke a lot to me because it was something fairly brand new to me. I had learned about it when I was maybe grade 6, and it was through an elementary school teacher that I had who was telling us about wampums. And I was just really, really intrigued about them, but I really didn't know where to go to get a good source of what was available for me in a way of talking, in a way of learning, in a way of researching. Our Haudenosaunee were an oral people, and so traditions, stories, things of a really, really important nature were passed through in an oral way, but the wampums were a way of remembering those important things. So this wampum, over 400 years old, was actually a treaty and a way of living between the Haudenosaunee, who at the time were living in New York State, and the Dutch, who came across the ocean and had come into Turtle Island. Now, we can imagine way back over 400 years ago where our people knew very little about European ways of life, and the Dutch coming to Turtle Island and not knowing much about our way of life. And eventually what started to happen was that there was a dominance of the Dutch coming in and wanting to change our languages, wanting to change our ways of governance and our ways of life. And our people said, we need to learn to live together. And so this is how this treaty came to be. So if we picture these white pieces of the wampum here, we can think about that as the river of life. All of us go through a river of life, and that may have different connotations to different people and at different times of our lives. The basic, very quick nutshell version of this is the river of life, and the beads in between represent peace, friendship, and respect forever. And when I think about those are things, especially today, that we all need to live by, these guidelines that we all need to live by. But over 400 years ago, that was an agreement made between the Haudenosaunee and the Dutch. So the purple line, one of these here, represents the Haudenosaunee and our way of life. And the other purple line represents the Dutch and their way of life, parallel, close enough to each other that they wouldn't interfere with each other's governance, each other's language, each other's way of life, and that they would be able to live together in peace, friendship, and respect. Now, as we all know, with the addition of the French and the English that came along, and where we are today with, Canada is a multicultural country, this still needs to be abided by. We still need to go back to those promises that we made to each other. When I look at this, parallel lines, they never intersect, but also they go on forever. So this could have happened a long time ago, but it's not ended yet. And that gives me a lot of hope that we haven't ended that yet. Now, the real wampum, the over 400-year-old one, is quite tattered now. It was repatriated to Six Nations of the Grand River Territory, I think in 1986. And it has been in our possession at the Indigenous Knowledge Center at Six Nations Polytechnic since that time. It's in a lot of disrepair, but it is back in our hands. We hold the wampum this way rather than this way. If we hold it this way, then one dominates over the other. We start thinking of one above the other. And I think that's an amazing way for us to picture our way of life as we move forward. Now, Jay mentioned a little bit about scouting out the river on the Grand. And as he mentioned, it took us about 3 years to do this. And it was a lot of fun. We had no idea what we were getting into. Our goal was to get a flotilla of people, give them cultural teachings, have an awareness of the Two Row Wampum and the teachings that it provides, but also to be in a community where our goal would be to have good words, good minds, good actions. Well, we started in Dundalk and we found where the Grand River comes out of the water. It's spring-fed, and we knew we couldn't paddle there. It's more like bubbling water out of the ground. And we thought, okay, we can't do that. We ended up starting in a little town called Riverview, and we were able to canoe, we were able to kayak through there by ourselves. We went through Bellwood Lake, we went through a couple of dams down that way. We got into Kitchener, and when we got to Kitchener, we got into some problems there because of the shallow water, and we knew we wouldn't be able to do this flotilla through that town, through that city, during that length of time in the summer when we planned to paddle. So the very first year, we started in Paris, and we took those people that came along with us. I think there were 88 in number. Started in Paris, and we camped and paddled. We had our cultural teachings along the way, and we ended up at Port Maitland. And as Jay is stating here, it was such an emotional change for me, thinking, okay, look at these people here that don't know anything about Haudenosaunee culture. And it gave me a sense of pride because I grew up in a generation where we, as Indigenous people, made ourselves as small as possible. We really had that sort of an ingrained piece of us, living on a reserve and being different and being controlled by the Indian agent. You can't leave without permission. You can't vote. You can't do this. You can't do this. Very, very oppressive. So for me to be able to go along that journey with community members gave me a sense of pride that I would be able to see people in my community who were able to give teachings, who were able to, as authors and researchers, able to share the knowledge and even to sing the social songs on the water, or to have people learning a social dance was really, really powerful for me. It was really empowering. So that's part of the piece that I want to share, is that we have been able to be resilient, number one, in spite of everything that happened, but also to keep our heads up. You know, here we are in 2025. We could keep our heads up as Haudenosaunee people, and that really makes a powerful feeling inside of me that we're able to do that for our youth once again. I'm going to turn it back over to Jay, and I'm just going to take a little bit of a breather here because I get very emotional. So Jay, go ahead, please.
Okay, I think it's time for our first little video here, and
Very transformative journey for everyone.
Hardly anyone knows about it.
I'm Ellie Joseph, Mohawk Turtle from Six Nations of the Grand River. We are here today on our very first day of Two Row on the Grand, spreading word about the Two Row Wampum and the meaning behind it. It's uncovering history that people in Canada need to know, and it's also allowing our Haudenosaunee people an opportunity to speak their voice and to be heard.
My name's Kenny Davis. I'm Mohawk, Haudenosaunee. I'm here on the Two Row on the Grand. Taking this opportunity community for a healing journey, to help with connecting with my culture, my heritage. It'll be a really fun time.
I'm Jay Bailey, one of the co-founders of the Two Row on the Grand. Living the Two Row life is really important to me. My wife and I realize we have a two-row relationship. We're two very distinct people. We have that respect for each other, and we stay close enough to help each other, and but we don't interfere with the way the other steers their life, really. That's the kind of relationship that Canada and Indigenous people were originally supposed to have.
We had a tremendous first 5 days. We started in Cambridge on the day of our first paddling day. We had to do an emergency exit into a random field because we had thunder. So to get everybody's safety, we had to exit the river for about 45 minutes, which was a new one for us. And it gave us some comfort knowing that people were responsible for the group and for each other, and we really had a great exit that day. This group was really amazing. You could see a lot of connection, you could see a lot of friendships building, support, community building, all of that stuff went on.
The upper part of the river has more challenges in terms of navigation, rocks and shoals and all that sort of stuff, and our safety paddlers are phenomenal. I heard many comments saying, wow, it was so neat to have direction through those rapids and telling them what to expect.
Our ground crew works really, really hard. They start the day early in the morning, they end the day, the last ones at night. They've put forth a lot of effort, and the paddlers themselves have really, really worked together. This was the best two-row formation coming into Chiefswood Park that we've ever had. Timing was perfect, weather was perfect.
It's just marvelous how things are provided for us along the way, in ways that we didn't anticipate. 17 minutes to get 90 people off the water, that's phenomenal. Yeah, we've got a bunch of good people.
did 10 days this year, I did 5 days last year, and what I take away is the immense feeling of community that developed over these 10 days that we spent paddling. My heart is so full. Everyone has so much respect and friendship for each other, and we came together as a group of people where not everyone knew each other, and what we built over paddling 10 days is something I have never experienced that way before.
Heartful, I think, is the best way to describe it, and just this invitation to be a part of what actually feels like holds the possibility for reconciliation in the future.
Hi, my name is Bonnie Freeman. I'm Algonquin Mohawk, a member of the Six Nations of the Grand River Territory, and I'm an associate professor in the School of Social Work and Indigenous Studies. And I created a course at McMaster University that involved social work students and Indigenous Studies students.
It's been a long 10 days, and we were really excited at the beginning because we knew there was so many young people, university people coming along, and having those, the presence of young people interested in our cultural teachings really meant a lot to me. We never meant this to be an academic point. But what I really like about this is everyone now is getting a history that we deserve to have. I was just happy to see so many of our own community members on the water. That was really, really important for me, because our river is, you know, it's our river, and we want to love her, we want to respect her, and we want to care for her.
It teaches, it heals, and we all need that.
Okay, next, I'll just explain a little bit about what a day and the Two Row and the Grand is like. First thing in the morning, you roll up your sleeping bag and get your things packed up, take down your tent, take it over to the rental truck. This year it was the Starship Enterprise. And then you head over for breakfast. The ground crew has been up long before to set things up for mostly cold breakfast, but there's hot coffee, there's hot water for porridge if you want to make that. And yeah, once breakfast is over, then you make sure our canoes are down by the water, kayaks ready to go. And then about 7:30 we have a circle and the words before all else, where we thank all those different aspects of creation that are continuing to do what they were created to do. And then that reflects back on us as to what kind of role we are fulfilling. And so then we help each other launch, and once everyone's on the water, we call paddles up to make sure that everyone's ready to go. If there's a paddle not up, then we need to wait for that person. And we're not ready to go until we're all ready to go. And so we head down the river. Ellie and I are usually the lead paddlers for the two separate rows. And like the teaching says, we paddle close enough to help each other, but not so close that we're disrupting the other's path. And sometimes we might get a little spread out, and our safety paddlers give us a walkie-talkie call to say we need to slow down a bit and keep everyone together. We'll also stop for breaks every once in a while, especially on a hot day. A shade break really helps, and to make sure everyone's hydrated. We have medics on the water who have extra water, and safety paddlers have extra water, and sunscreen for people who didn't put enough on or forgot to bring it with them. And we continue that. If it's a long day, we'll be stopping for lunch and then continuing on. And sometimes we'll have a teaching at lunch. If it's a shorter day, we'll tend to have arrive in time for lunch or a late lunch, and then usually around supper time we'll have a teaching or a cultural activity, and yeah, people have time to set up their tents and everything, which have been brought down with the rental truck and put out for them to pick up and set up. And some places will be able to have a campfire, other places not. But we always have cultural teaching at some point in the day, sometimes more than one. Have I missed anything? Okay. And then we're going to call on Anka to give a first-hand account of how the Two Row how impacted her, what kind of experience she had.
Thank you, Jay and Ellie. My name is Anke. I am a settler, born and raised in Germany. Came to Canada on a work permit, fell in love, stayed here. And through my work in tourism, I slowly began to understand that the romanticized version of the settler narrative in Canada, all about Tim Hortons, ice hockey, and Zambonis, doesn't quite hold. And I decided to learn more, enrolled in graduate studies, and really made an effort to learn, and I keep learning. And at one point decided I needed to be part of this Two Row on the Grand I've heard so much about. I had met Ellie and Jay, and I can definitely say 10 minutes into the paddle on my first day, I was already a different person than the person that lowered the kayak onto the water. The camaraderie, the friendship, the connections, it was just something very hard to describe. And then every night, of course, the teaching, the shared dinners, the shared meals, and in the morning, especially, what really struck me was the morning address that was done by Rachel in Cayuga, witnessing the emotions that went through, and everything around it, like, makes me right now well up. But it is certainly something that I highly, highly recommend for everyone to participate in. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You know, as we do, one of our aims is to build community, build healthy community. And it's nice to hear that, you know, we're able to impact people. And they take away different things, you know, coming from their different perspective of life. They do take away different things. You know, as Jay mentioned, it's been, you know, coming up to our 10th year. And I have to say that it wasn't always an easy journey for us.
Okay, thank you.
I have to say that the Two Row on the Grand hasn't always been an easy journey for us. For those of you that do know, the Grand River is the area of the Haldeman Treaty, and so a lot of the communities along the way don't have I'm going to say, understanding of what our history is, and so there's a learning process for the different communities that we travel through. Sometimes there have been barriers in different communities that we go through. So it's not always been, a one big happy family kind of thing. Why is this big flotilla of canoes coming and landing in our park and having lunch? If we look at Indigenous rights, we have a right to be on that river, So it's not been an easy task for us. And like I said, there have been a lot of hurdles, a lot of things that we've had to go through. And we have to keep peace, friendship, and respect in any dialogue that we have, and it's not always easy to do that. So having said that, though, there have been a lot of positive things, going our way. And I guess one of the main things I can say is that we were given a tourism award in 2022, and that award was for making connection with people in our communities and partnerships and collaboration among those areas that we paddle through. I think at the time we had over 40 partnerships and collaborations, and that really means a lot to us, particularly because we are a grassroots community. None of us that plan the tour on the Grand is paid. It's all volunteer. And, we're not an organization that you would sort of expect to see in today's modern world. We don't have a president. We don't have a vice president. What we do is the way our Haudenosaunee people, in the past governed ourselves. And we, take a look at our strengths and we come to consensus. And if we maybe have a different thought, then the others listen to those thoughts, and then we move forward in the best way that we can see. So, we're trying to demonstrate that, and it's worked out really successfully for us so far. There's maybe 15 or 20 people who have been on the Two Row since 2016, and they're still there as volunteers. That speaks a lot for the community that it has built. In a couple of minutes, I'm going to ask if there are any questions, but I will tell you that we are looking forward to 2025, and the dates for that journey will start on July 16th, 2025 in Cambridge, and then we will end up at Chiefswood Park on the 20th of July. So the first 5 days of the paddle from Cambridge to Six Nations Chiefswood Park, they're the more technical pieces of the river, and I know Anka will tell you that it's very technical. There's fast flow water, there's a lot of boulders, there's some difficult portages, etc. But our safety paddlers really are supportive in that way. And by that time, community develops really nicely, and people are able to, communicate what they can do to benefit the group, but they can also learn to ask for help if they need to. And those two skills are really important skills in life, to be able to extend a hand to a perfect stranger, but also to ask for help from a perfect stranger. The second part of the Grand 5-day paddle, or the 10-day paddle, goes from Chiefswood Park down to Port Maitland. And that part of the river is a quieter part of the river. It's wider. There could be some boat traffic along the way. And then, of course, when we get down to Port Maitland, we're feeling the push of the lake coming in. It can be windy there, so it too has its own challenges. So, you have an opportunity to do the first 5 days, an opportunity to do the last 5 days, or you can do the whole 10 days. We aim this year to set our limit again at 100 people, registered people. But there are certain areas along the river where we open it up to public, and anyone can come. Just check on our website And if that's an open to the public kind of situation where we have the capacity for people to come in and listen, then our teachings that evening are of no cost, and you don't need to be registered in order to do that. And a lot of people do come in. They come in, they listen, they ask questions as well. And sometimes they end up on the Two Row the following year. I'll turn it over to Jay again, and then we'll also see another film.
One of the things I forgot to mention was those shared meals. They're catered by a family on Six Nations, and they meet us at each location, sometimes lunch and supper the same day, most days, and delicious. Yep,
I would like to leave a leg.
we'll start over.
History in the making. What the life is to create a community.
I would like to leave a legacy of connection.
It's a relationship.
It will continue, it will grow, and it will be everything that it's supposed to be.
I'm Ellie Joseph, Six Nations band member. I'm Mohawk. I'm of the Turtle Clan. I am one of the 4 co-founders of Two Row Wampum. I was on a very historical Two Row Renewal Campaign in 2013 on the Hudson, and it was such an overwhelmingly powerful spiritual growth journey.
Well, 200 paddlers are cruising down the Hudson River to New York City to bring the Two Row Wampum image to life.
People have lost the history. People don't know about this treaty, but as we're teaching people about it, they're very excited to learn about it, and they recognize the promise of working together with our Native brothers and sisters to create a more just, peaceful, and sustainable world for all of our future generations.
Ellie invited me to take part in the 2013 Two Row Wampum Renewal Campaign paddle down the Hudson River from Albany to Manhattan. That had a profound effect on so many of the participants. The cultural teachings at each stop along the way. We felt that it was important to bring that experience and those teachings to people along the Grand River. That first Two Row on the Grand in 2016 was supposed to be the one and only. It took us 3 years to scout the river. What an impact it had on people. And it was life-changing. We turned to each other and we were both thinking, how can we not do this again?
I started the Two Row in 2018. I heard about it the year before, and I really didn't feel like I was ready at that time. Did some more of my own work between 2017 and 18, and then joined in 2018. And I joined because I love paddling. My very first memory was meeting someone, and she was the first person that I met. I was nervous. I hadn't really done much paddling before, and she welcomed me and made me feel like this was going to be just fine. I've met her many times since then, and it's always a big hug and a warm welcome. When I step into my kayak on the Grand, I feel a sense of being at home has been developed because of the time that I've spent on the river. So it's a relationship now.
I listen to the BBC and listening to what's going on in the Middle East and listening to what's going on in the States, and it's like, it's this otherness thing that's killing us. And the Two Row has helped me see that.
The bridge is there, the divide disappears, and you're connected.
It's community, unity, it's bringing people from all these different walks of life together so that they can work together to complete one giant task.
And do we have questions?
One of the things I would like to say, because we have an educator in our audience here, is that we also have a Two Row on the Grand Youth Camp, and it is held at Chiefswood Park in the summer for a 5-day day camp experience. It is primarily hosted now by our Six Nations Wellbeing Department, Child and Youth Programs. And they do a similar kind of day that Jay and I have incorporated on the Two Row. So they have cultural teachings, they get out for canoeing and kayaking, there's a craft of some kind, the kids do, you know, a whole sort of a day of fun and engagement and learning, and part of that being on the Grand River. But what is unique about it too is that we are looking for this to be a two-row experience. So yes, we're looking for children that are ages 11 to 17 in our community, but we're also looking for students from outside of our community who can come into, you know, our park and have build friendships. Perhaps these children will be going on to grade 9 and meeting each other in grade 9. So those are the kinds of things that, you know, have been encouraged. I think that camp started during COVID when we couldn't camp and paddle along the Grand. We were able to have day camps. And now Jay and I just kind of show up and we have fun with the kids all week. So, you know, it's been a really, really supportive piece by our community, and I know that they will be hosting this event again. I just don't know the dates for it yet. Question?
Yeah, I was just wondering, last year the link to register went out in March. Is it going to be the same?
Yes, March 15th. Yeah. Now, registration online starts March 15th. And last year was the first year we had to cap it, I think, in late May.
We are really hoping for some exciting things this year because it is our 10th year, and it's been a ripple effect. You know, the outreach over the past 9 years has been really something. Remember now, this was only supposed to be 1 year, but, you know, Jay and I have gone to universities, we've gone to high school boards and, you know, heads of history, you know, department heads, et cetera, around the province, really. And it's really, really impacted. And, you know, the Two Row is something that we all need to learn. So it's really rippled out a lot.
Yes, we were invited to contribute a chapter to a book called Deo Hahage, Sharing the River of Life. And that came out this January.
Are there any other questions?
Okay, I don't paddle, but I've always thought, oh, I just, I wanted to try this one, I'd like to try it. So how would one begin? Because there's no way I could just go in there and, you know, is there like a prep for any of this, or is it just you have to get in the water somewhere else and learn from somewhere else?
There's a couple of things that you can do, and that question comes up frequently. You know, I mean, I paddled since I was a little kid, so it's just sort of something that comes second nature to me. But there are many, many people who say, gee, I'd like to do this. How do I do it? You know, I know Health Services, the Department of Wellbeing, does have kayak programs. I believe they start in May. As soon as Chiefswood Park puts in the docks, they will have a couple of evenings of instruction a week. They are free. You can come down, the equipment is there for you to use, and a lot of people do take part in that. So just look on the website, the Department of Wellbeing, and they will be hosting those evening paddles.
On your website, is there like links there that people can click on, like
done that. That's probably something we should add.
There is another avenue I might talk to you about. When the students from Guelph University came as an experiential year, outdoor education year, and the students from McMaster University, they took instruction at Pinehurst, which is just outside of Brantford. And that was a one-day paddle instruction, which is really, really thorough. So there are organizations like that that you can go to, but I think it's a good idea that we do put that on our website.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, also another question. Volunteering, is that something we would go to the website as well if we would like to volunteer in one of the spots?
Yeah, on the website, it tells you if you would like to volunteer that you should email us, and because we need to vet our volunteers ahead of time. And for registering as a volunteer, you have to be sent the link. Okay, it's not a public thing. Yeah, we vet all our volunteers, and generally they sign up for all 10 days because we like to have the consistency throughout.
How about entertainment? My grandson loves to smoke dance and stuff, so I didn't know if that's something you had at like the spots where you stop, if you brought in entertainment for the paddlers, or?
I would like to talk to you on both of those things after this is finished. You know, Jay did mention that we vet our volunteers, and yes, we do, but we are always looking for particularly community members who can say, gee, I will, you know, take the eggs that you've purchased and bring them back hard-boiled for you at 6:30 in the morning. Things like that really support us, you know, and it's something that we don't always have the opportunity to do when we're camping. You know, to boil 80 to 100 eggs takes a while on a camp stove, but we've had people in the community say, I will do this and I will send them with so-and-so, and they will get there. So there's things like that can happen. Or, hey, can you be on call while we're on the territory and maybe bring us bags of ice? Or things like that. Those things are always welcome. So we do have a few people in the community who volunteer to do that, and that's really, really helpful. You mentioned smoke dance. One of the things I'm really keeping my fingers crossed about is that we can have something really special at Chiefswood Park this year. We're working with tourism to create something where we can have more of our you know, people coming in and being a part of that celebration, whether they're registered participants or not. So to be able to have, you know, like a smoke dance exposition, you know, that would be wonderful to have, you know. So we are looking at that. I'd like your information on that later. And, you know, we do a social at the end when we get down to Port Maitland. And that's always a really neat thing where you see, you know, ally settlers along with our Haudenosaunee, and we're all holding hands and we're doing a round dance. That's really something. Yeah, so thank you.
Sorry, I think that's it.
Well, those are, yes, I would like to talk to you more about that afterward, because there's always things that we can, you know, and I like the idea of putting those, you know, connections to getting paddling instruction on our website. And there's rentals you can do as well if you don't own a kayak. You know, there are rentals.
And we do have a link for that.
Yeah, we have that. We also have a few personal canoes and kayaks that we've been able to get over the years, and we tend to use those for our safety paddlers so that they have, you know, like a canoe or kayak for the whole 10 days. To rent is, you know, it's kind of expensive, right? And if you're in a volunteer capacity, we try to help our, help our volunteers the best way we can with the minimal resources we have.
But even like for sponsorships and stuff, like
Mm.
people can help you and get sponsors for this.
We are always looking, and one of the things, I mean, we don't want to, because we are a grassroots community, none of us gets paid, so we are volunteering, but just recently, there was a fellow from Hamilton who came up to us and said, I have 3 canoes, and I lend them out in the city of Hamilton for people who don't have an opportunity, but the lake is right there. And he said to us, he heard us talking at an event, and one of the things he said to us was, let me know when you are launching your canoes, and if you need, I will deliver them to you for the whole 10 days, and I will pick them up at the end. And it becomes an infectious thing with people wanting to help out. And I really like the fact that it is organic and grassroots, because that too speaks volumes for peace, friendship, and respect. There's not really a big element of, transaction in between it.
I just want to say thank you. I think what you're doing, Jay and Ellie, is wonderful. It's amazing. I had no idea it was already 10 years.
Yeah.
I think I remember when you started, and I didn't realize 10 years had gone by. I also wanted to mention that Six Nations Polytechnic STEAM Academy, our high school here, runs a land camp in the summertime, and we base it out of Chiefswood Park. And we have had Jay and Ellie come and speak to the students about Two Row. They gave them some paddling lessons and then put them right into the canoes on the river. And they had an amazing time, and that's, it speaks volumes for what you do, not just through those, the 10 days, but in the community to other people, to their students, and that. So thank you for that.
Thank you. And it's, we have a big lacrosse community. Not everyone plays lacrosse. We have a big baseball community. Not everybody plays baseball. It gives the kids that nature connection, and they can be involved in something, that's not team-oriented, because that can put pressure on a child to just go into nature and enjoy our river as it is a beautiful thing too. And I'm glad that we are getting more youth in our community. It's important for them to be able to have a nurturance in that part of their life as well.
There was one year we had a whole STEAM Academy class to come for the day on the Two Row on the Grand, and there was one fellow who was in a wheelchair, and his friends would help him in and out, and just looked after each other beautifully.
Well, thank you so much for organizing and allowing us to come and share our journey with you, and I hope to keep connections with you. Nyawagoa.